So I wasn't a remarkable child in many ways, but it seemed like for me the horses was something that I don't know if I was good at, but I didn't suck at it like everything else. So that might be, that might be what drew me to the horses. And then I started talking, I didn't shut up. And my favourite word was why. And here we are later. I make lots of money talking. And my favourite Nuno Oliveira quote, if you guys know who Nuno Oliveira is, famous Portuguese classical dressage rider, he says your horse needs to be relaxed yet remain powerful. And it's all about that balance in the middle. For me personally, I've never really had a lot of self-confidence. Like everything, all the good things that have happened to me have actually, all the directions I've gone in that have been really good have mostly been at the suggestion of someone else. Like, hey, I think you should do this. I'm like, oh, do you think I could do that? So I've almost always been having to push myself that way. And then when you do get some success, then you got to kind of, rein it back in again. I actually think there's two types of fear. The fear that you should be afraid of and the fear that you shouldn't be afraid of. And the fear that you should be afraid of is the real fear. That's the one where you could really get hurt. Most of the time, the fear we have is the fear you shouldn't be afraid of. For instance, does everybody here really like horses and like hearing about horses? Yeah? Okay, would anybody like to come up on stage in front of all these people and tell them about your horse? Okay, you're all probably like, ooh, don't pick me. But really, that's the fear you shouldn't be afraid of. You're in the best place possible to talk about horses. You have a receptive audience. This would be a very safe place. But your mind tells you it's not. This is the place where I should get really afraid. I'm on stage and I'm stuck for words. My jet lag's kicking in. When you come back to do this clinic, we're going to go skydive. So I had actually 364 days to crap my pants. But I started preparing for it. I would go on my back step and I would stand on the edge of that step and pretend that we're at 10,000 feet and that's the edge of a plane. And if you can visualize it well enough, your body goes, no, I am not stepping off this step. And I practiced that enough to where 364 days later, we do the clinic and then I'm going to go jump out of a plane today. And so we go, the office for the skydiving is in town, so we go to the office and they go, well, we're not sure we can do it yet because there's some cloud cover. You can't jump into clouds, so we've got to wait for the clouds to clear. So go for a walk. So we go for a walk for an hour around town. We come back. We walk in and they say, no, we can't do it today. There's too much cloud. And I'm like, we're just melted. And we walked out the door and she said to me, well, there's another place up the coast here a couple of hours we could go to. You want me to call them? And I go, no. She said, why not? And I said, because I'm not ready. And she said, but you were just ready half an hour ago. I said, I spent a year getting ready and then I let go of being ready, okay? Right now I'm not ready. There was a really great story from the martial arts world where these guys came to this martial arts clinic for the, thing for the weekend. They get there Friday afternoon and, it's mixed martial arts in the octagon thing. And they go in the octagon, there's 10 of them, they go in the octagon, and on the floor of the octagon is are you guys metric or imperial here in this country? Bit of both. There's a 6-inch wide, 6-inch square wooden beam across the floor of the thing and it's 14 foot long or something. And he goes, okay, everybody get over here in a line and we want you to walk across the beam. So everybody walks across the beam and they think this is a warm-up exercise. Then he goes, now turn around and walk across it again. So they walk across it again and after 10 minutes they're thinking, this is a lot of warm-up exercise. They walk across this beam for an hour. And then he goes, okay, thanks guys. Have a good rest. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And they're all like, this sucks. Like, we're supposed to be punching and kicking and fighting. The next day they come back and they all go on the octagon and that same 6-inch square wooden beam, 14 foot long is there, but it is now on scaffolding 12 feet off the floor of the octagon. And he says, your job is to climb up there and walk across that beam. No one can walk across the beam. And he said, you could all walk across the beam yesterday because you were focused on the beam. Today you are focused on the drop beyond the beam. And the beam is the same. So a quote by one of the Stoics, but it's about, don't put any energy into anything you have no control over. And I would say, stick to what you have control over and spread that magic around everywhere and just lead by example. Ben was over there saying something and Becky turned to me and she goes, he's talking about being on Britain's Got Talented again. I I don't think the gender thing is a big deal. People say, do you treat Stallions different than Geldings, or do you treat Cobs different than whatever? It's like, no, I'm just working with the horse that's in front of me, and if they're an anxious horse, I deal with them like an anxious horse. If they're a shut-down horse, I deal with them like a shut-down horse. If they're, you're just dealing with basically the emotional state of the horse in front of you, no matter what gender they are. It was in the program from the Horsemanship Showcase last weekend.
I keep using that same picture. Do you know what's actually even funnier?
And what's funny is 57-year-old fat me ended up next to him. Like, they're side by side. I sent it to my wife. That's why I don't have a picture of Ben with his top off of my phone for any other reason than the fact I took a picture of this program and sent it to my wife to go, look, they've put Ben with his shirt off next to me. So now you know what Ben's cologne it smells like?
Yeah.
Like smelly feet.
Do you want to...
You were playing on your phone before, but now you're listening, so I can't say what I was going to say. There's hello, young lady, how are you? There's some golden rules with horses that I like to tell people, and one of them is never do anything, never attempt to do anything with a horse tied up that you cannot do with that horse perfectly well untied. That's a never for me. Bush, I got to hold it or eat it?
You've got to be with it.
Tarantula. Oh. I've got a picture on my phone of me holding a tarantula.
Have you?
But you will not find a picture of me holding a snake. Very, very, very good tequila.
Oh.
Because if you've had it, then you go, oh, my whole tequila experience has been totally wrong.
Yeah.
I would change it to anything that is a normal name in America. Because I've lived in America for 35 years and no one in America knows you don't pronounce the second W in Warwick, okay? I've even made a YouTube video where I went to Warwick Castle and I asked the curator, what's the name, how old's this castle? And they go, it's been around since the 1100s. And how do you pronounce the name of this castle? It's Warwick Castle. I've got 330 million views on my YouTube channel. At the start of every video I say, g'day, my name is Warwick Schiller. There's, I don't know how many million people in America have all watched
Warwick.
him, but they call me Warwick, so yeah. I'm going with Angelina Jolie as Lara Croft.
No, hang on now. That's not the same as last night. You're just throwing different names about and you're always like, it's too specific. We had this conversation.
Well, last night it was
like late 90s Jennifer Love Hewitt. And I was like, you should still love her when she's old and fat and wrinkly. Like, it's not okay that you just have that one thing and then ditch her. Come on now.
Peppa Pig.
I thought you'd grown as a person.
I thought so too, but now that you pointed out, I realise I haven't.